Welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. We are about to get started today with our Motivation and Mindset Monday. As I've shared with you before, absolutely one of my favorite shows of the week to be able to record, but also to go through in my own mind. Because remember, as I'm putting together this daily show for you, what I'm looking to do is share with you a lot of what I may be experiencing myself, but also all of the hundreds to thousands of people that I speak with on a daily basis in my practice through my health coaches and online and social media. So when I share these topics with you, I try to make them really as real world as possible. And I think that you'll see, even if they don't apply to you right now, they may in the future, or they have in the past. And what you want to do is accumulate all of that knowledge so that you're able to use it when the time is right, but also that you can share it with someone else in the future. Now, two reasons for that. One is as you begin to accumulate knowledge, you begin to make connections. As you make more and more connections, you start to see life in a different way. And as you view life in this different way, life does become easier. And that's because you're able to integrate all of the wisdom that you've been able to accumulate over the past few months and years as you're moving on your own journey in life. But when you share this information with others, that is when you begin to truly learn it. That is when it starts to sink in at a deep level. It is absolutely one of the reasons why I love doing the podcast. Yes, I've been teaching this material for years, but as I teach it, I start to think of it in maybe just a different other perspective, that I can share that perspective, that I can cue people in different ways. And as I do that, as I think about it, as I roll it around in my mind, I start to learn it as well at a deeper level myself. So that is why I want to share with you today's topic. And I've seen this happen quite a bit. I was actually just having a conversation just last weekend about this very specific thing. And the person I was speaking with, I wanted to share with them as succinct a point as I could. And that's why I shared with them a quote that I'm going to be sharing with you in just a couple moments. But it really revolves around two big mistakes that I see people make as they begin to go after a new goal or a dream that they've always had of theirs. And they're unsure maybe where to start, how to start, and if they even have the ability to make it happen. There's two ways to look at this. And this is what I see come up over and over, whether it's a wellness, a weight loss goal, a relationship goal, a spirituality goal, body transformation, you name it, whatever it might be, is we tend to see things two different ways. One is we see what someone else has already achieved and they make it look easy. So let's say that, okay, we saw someone, they had all sorts of, let's say, autoimmune-based issues. Well, and in just 3 months' time, they did this, this, and this, and they're already better. They're looking good. They're feeling good, and they're sharing that information with others. So we say, oh, great, that's all it takes is a couple months, and I'll be on my way, and I'll be feeling good and looking good, and all of those different things. Great. Well, here's the issue. So you start upon this path. You don't have all of the accumulated knowledge of that person who already set forth on their path and got well. And all of a sudden, you're thinking this is going to be easy. Well, you hit some obstacles. And those challenges now begin to present themselves. Those challenges to really test you, are you worthy of achieving this goal? Do you have what it takes to push through those particular challenges? Now, maybe you do, maybe you don't at this moment in time. We all do. Let's not make that mistake. We all have the ability. We all have deep inside of us the will to achieve. But not always in this current moment in time. That's because sometimes we don't have all of the hindsight. We don't have all of the knowledge, and I want to bring that to the forefront towards the end of this podcast. So here's the thing, though. You thought it was easy. You thought it was going to be easy because you saw someone else who made it look easy. Now, that goes back to the second point. So here's the thing. We embark on our goals. We hit an obstacle. We didn't expect to hit these obstacles or challenges, and we give up. Again, at least temporarily. You have to understand, I went through this myself. The only reason I know any of this is because I failed, and I don't even like to use the word failure, but I failed for sure way more than I got it right, and that's because you only need one time to get it right. But it takes a whole lot of effort and a whole lot of so-called failures, and I'll use that in air quotes, before you do get it right. So I relapsed while trying to get well many, many times before I actually got well. But each time, sure, I got frustrated. I stopped for a while. Again, I'm going to be honest with you. There were months that went by that I said, I'm not going to do anything else. I'm not going to try any new supplements. I'm not going to try any new labs. I'm not going to try any new protocols. I'm not going to see any new practitioners. And I'm just not doing anything. Nothing's working. And that's what I did. And then nothing continued to work. And so I said, okay, well, let me try something new because something sparked my interest. And I tried that and it started going well. And then all of a sudden I relapsed. And I wouldn't know why because I hadn't accumulated enough experience or knowledge yet. But I would then read another book and I would see someone, they use just alpha lipoic acid and that seemed to regulate their blood sugar and their detox. Great. So I started using that and I feel a little bit better. And then all of a sudden, no, I don't anymore. So what did I do? Well, I learned one more thing as to what it wasn't. But here's the thing. I didn't know back then that many of the other people who got well and did their thing, they had done many things before that. They had already gone through their challenges. They had already overcome their obstacles and they got well. All right, so that's the first part. The second part is this. We see someone else that has already done it and we think that they were always that smart, sophisticated, and that it always came naturally to them. Well, for example, let's take a healthcare practitioner in the field and you look at that person, they might be a integrative health practitioner, they might be a naturopathic doctor, they might be a medical doctor, they might be a PhD, whatever it might be. And you look at them and you say, oh, wow, that person probably always knew about lab testing and they always knew about the intricacies of biochemistry and they always knew how certain supplements interacted with other ones and how detoxification worked, etc. And you say like, oh, well, that they always knew that. But here's the thing. You start to put people on a pedestal that is not accurate, but it's also not even human. You have to understand, you've accumulated knowledge in your life, right? And you, in some area of your life, you know a whole lot more than most other people. Let's say it's even a hobby of yours. Like something that I'm just getting into is archery. I just really love kind of target shooting, just a regular target and being able to, one of the biggest reasons I love it is I just love to dial it in. I love to put on sights and I love to put on these little thing called beeps and I like to put on different things and move things around to get it just right. To me, it's like a game and it's more of a meditation when I do it. I do it at night. Actually, I've been teaching my girls, but then typically I'm teaching them, so I'm not doing a lot of the target shooting, but then I'll practice myself after they go to bed and I'm really, really enjoying it because I also get to be outside minus the mosquitoes that buzz my head. But here's the thing. I look at other people and I see them shoot from 100 yards away and they hit bullseyes. And I say, how are they able to do that? Well, when I first started, I was legitimately 5 yards away and I still wasn't hitting bullseyes. And then I realized, well, it's going to be difficult to repeat that if you don't put a sight on it and you don't put what's called a peep. So basically it's a smaller circle that you look through the target on. And then I started doing that and I was 10 yards away and I started getting all bullseyes. Now, again, I'm only 10 yards away. That's it. And they were doing it from 100 yards away. But what I realized is this. I had two ways to look at this, that they were naturally gifted. They were just gifted at archery. That's it. I mean, they were great. I mean, I see 14-year-olds doing it and they're just going to be great at it, right? Or I could think about it this. At one time in their life, they had never picked up a bow. They never knew how to use it before in their life. And then gradually, they probably started like I'm doing right now. They probably started at 5 yards away and then 10 yards away. And then after they got good there, they went to 15 yards and 20 yards. And what I realized is that this is the case with almost everyone in life, that we tend to put people in a role that in our minds that's not even human. So we look at these practitioners, we'll go back to the healthcare practitioner and say, oh, they always knew. They were always brilliant when it came to biochemistry. They were always brilliant when it came to labs. They were always brilliant when it came to nutrition and calories and fats and proteins and micronutrients like minerals and vitamins, all those great things. Or they were someone that knew absolutely nothing about it, took an interest to it, began to get an education on it. That is how things work in life. And then you build upon that. Just like the archer, you can't hit the bullseye from 20 yards away when you first start. You start at 5 yards away. You do what you can, and then you go to 10. What I found is this. I've started to try to shoot from 20 to 30 yards away. Not bad from 20 yards. Not great yet, but not bad. I'm a true beginner, and I love the process now because, again, I have hindsight. I realize that, and what I'm trying to teach you today is that you can achieve anything that you want as long as you're persistent at it, as long as you have a genuine interest in it because you have to stick with it, and as long as you realize that there's a process to this, that there's somewhat of a timeline. Now, I can speed up the timeline if I shoot 30 arrows, 50 arrows, or 100 arrows a day. If I only do it once a week, well, the timeline's going to be a whole lot longer. But if I do it daily and I start to create that muscle memory or that muscle to nervous system to brain-based activity, create those pathways, dialing the sights, all of those things, it'll happen faster. But what I've also realized is this. Now that I've tried a couple times at 30 yards away and I realize that that's not for me yet, when I go back to 15 yards, 10 yards, it's easy. It's automatic. Why? Because now I have the perspective of trying it from 30 yards away. So now I go back to a lower level, an easier level, and it makes it that much easier. The analogy I give people is like in baseball, when we were warming up on deck, that means before it was your chance to bat, you warmed up oftentimes with a weighted bat. And so when you swung a regular bat, it seemed very light and it increased your bat speed. Some golfers do this, although it can kind of throw off their golf swing, and it makes everything a whole lot easier. So I ask you this, is that what can you be doing now that you are interested in, that you will persist with because it means a lot to you, and what could you do on a daily basis that allows you to move just a little bit closer to your goal? So for me, I can say I'm not going to shoot that bow every day. Things come up, and I'm also not going to spend a ton of time doing it because there's so many things in life that I want to do, right? So I put my girls to bed after having dinner with them, and we're playing games now that it's more springtime. And of course, we've been inside, so we've come up with some new rituals that we really love to do as a family. And then, my wife and I are cleaning up, and then I'm going to go down, and I'm going to shoot a few arrows, and she gets to have her a little bit of alone time. And then we get back together, and then we're able to talk. We're able to watch something on TV or Netflix or whatever it might be. So, you want to fit all these things in. But what can you do? Like, sure, I can make time to do this during lunch. I could do it earlier in the day, but it's not that much of a priority, right? So I talk about different levels of priority, but this is something to me that I enjoy doing and I want to see myself improve upon. Now, for me, this is a bit more of a game, something enjoyment. But if it was something that you had to achieve, it was something that you had to do, which is a new career or make that relationship work because you wanted to for yourself, for your family, for that other person, whatever it might be, or your spirituality, or losing the weight to get healthier, or getting healthy. If it was something that you had to do, what could you do on a daily basis? Who could you model? But here's the big thing that I want you to know. Who could you model but not compare yourself to because you are not where they are today? So this is the quote that I want to share with you. And this is what I love, that this was the basis for today's podcast. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Now, I don't know the first person who ever said that in life because it's, somewhat of a common, not necessarily metaphor, but a common saying. But I know that Jordan Peterson said it, and he talked about it in his book, 12 Rules for Life. And I think that's really important because I'll just read the quote to you one more time. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. So if I, for example, wanted to compare myself to that person shooting 100 yards with what looked like ease, I would get frustrated. I would give up before I ever started Because that very first day, shooting at just 5 yards away, 15 feet away, I was not hitting that bullseye. And I was not that far away, and I still couldn't hit it. So if I thought that just by watching a YouTube video and seeing someone shoot from 100 yards away, and then I try to do it from 5 yards away, not even 10% of that, and I can't do it, well, it's easy for me to give up. I'd be like, well, that person's just great. That person's just probably always been great. But I can't compare myself to who they are today because I don't even know what their first shots look like. I'm probably willing to bet their first shots probably weren't too different than mine. Maybe they were a little bit more gifted, but that's okay. I'm not looking to win a gold medal. I'm looking to get better at it, right? It's the best that I can be. And so now what I have to see is this. When I go out there and practice, am I better than I was yesterday? And on some days I will be, some days I may not be. Some days might be just pretty much the same. But if I keep doing that for weeks, I'm almost guaranteeing that every couple weeks, I get a little bit better. Especially if I'm out there doing it 4 or 5 days a week, more days than not, right? If you want to get better at something, how many days a week should you do it? Ideally every day, but if not, more days than not. Don't take off more than 1 day in a row. And that's what I say about exercise. Don't take off more than 1 day in a row. You want to stick with it, no matter what your goals, take as few days off as possible. And you say, well, you shouldn't work out every day. And I would say, yes, you shouldn't work out to exhaustion every day. Can you move your body every day? Absolutely. If your goal is weight loss, should you be moving your body every day? Absolutely. They don't all have to all be really hard workouts. Some day might be more recovery, but you're always walking those 10,000 steps or working your way up to it. You could do some body weight exercise. You could do some light cardio. Keep yourself in the game. That's what I try to share with people. You're not going to win if you're not in the game. And you can't compare yourself to, again, those people way above you. I used to play, different sports, especially going into high school. I was a freshman, and I would watch, the varsity basketball team and the varsity track team and varsity baseball, all those different things. But like, well, they're clearly better. I'm 14. They're 18. Your body changes a lot over those 4 years. At least it did for me. I mean, I probably put on 40 pounds from freshman year of high school to senior year of high school. And that's about 40 pounds of muscle. As a boy, you start producing more testosterone, 12 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old or so. Some a little bit later. And as you do that, your body is going to put on muscle. You're going to start to grow. And again, that goes for women as too. I'm not saying that, but I can only give you my perspective, again, as a male. But the same thing also we don't always apply things equally. For example, when I got sick, I couldn't take the rationale that I got better at all the sports that I played, all the martial arts that I did, all the courses that I took. I couldn't take the rationale that I got better over time to when I wasn't feeling well. When I wasn't feeling well, I immediately wanted to get better. I had to get better that week, right? But I didn't realize that you get better over time. You accumulate knowledge. You accumulate better thoughts, better feelings, better actions, and you continue to do those on a daily basis. That's how you get better. You don't actually get better just from practice. You get better from practicing better things. So again, taking it back to archery for a moment, I didn't get better at archery for a good month. And the reason is I was just trying to instinctively shoot. So I was a little bit better. But once I put a sight on that bow, it was night and day. I got better in 24 hours in archery. 24 hours is all that it took. Once I played with that bow for about an hour, dialing it in, moving it left, moving it right, moving it up, moving it down to try to get it just right. And then after that, all of a sudden, I was putting it in the target. And that is the analogy for our goals. You can't just do the same thing over and over. Hire a coach. Join an online plan. Read a book. Follow the blueprint. Do something that other successful people have done. And as you're doing that, you can begin to see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Trust me, it's all not going to work. Meaning like when you do it, you just can't say, well, this is going to work 100% or nothing. No, it's going to work probably 80% for you, maybe 90%. And then you're going to make adjustments. That's why when you're working with a health coach, you can't do one call. One call allows you to get the plan. It doesn't allow you to make the adjustments, make the tweaks. That's why with our private health coaching practice, it's a minimum of 3 calls. Your intake, then your results, meaning we read your lab results and you get your personalized wellness plan. And then after that, you have to do at least 1 more call with us to make the adjustments on your plan after being on that plan for 4 weeks. Enough time to implement, enough time to figure what's working and what's not working and make adjustments for those things that aren't working. That is how you succeed in anything. Career, relationships. Do you think your relationships automatically are going to work or that you won't hit challenging times? Of course you will. You will hit disagreements with your partner, with your spouse, with whoever it is that you're spending a lot of time with. It can be parents, it can be siblings, it can be friends. And when you hit that disagreement, do you just let it all go away? No, ideally not. If it means something to you, you're going to make the proper adjustments. You're going to do what the both of you need to do in order to move forward in a prosperous way. The same with weight loss, the same with getting well. I share with you this. Do not compare yourself with someone else is today. The worst thing you can do is say, well, you probably were always good at it. That person was probably always great. They probably came from a great background. They probably were always healthy. Whatever it might be, don't do that. Compare you to who you were yesterday. All you need to ask yourself is, are you moving forward? Did you do better this week than last? That's it. Did you move a little bit further forward this week than last? Because if you do that, you begin to accumulate more actions, more wins. Those things snowball. They can't help to. Anybody that puts in consistent effort over time, keeps an open mind, and is willing to recalibrate their plan based on new information, they can't help but to win in the end. They can't help but to succeed. And then all of a sudden, in the future, they are now looked at as someone else's after, right? Someone is now looking towards you as to say, wow, that person probably has it all figured out. That person just always seems smart, sophisticated, and that all of this must have come naturally to them. And you can look back and you can say, if you only knew, right? If you only knew what it took. Hopefully today's podcast was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, if this was helpful, please do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. Are you ready to heal yourself and then go on to heal others? If so, the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute can help you discover proven functional medicine protocols that blend the best of 7 different healing disciplines from around the world. I personally share with you the exact handouts and protocols I use in my private practice that enable people to get well, lose the weight, and live longer, stronger. I want to pass this information on to the next generation of health coaches, and that is exactly why I created IHP. We are the future of the health coaching industry, and the skills and knowledge you will learn will make you an in-demand certified health coach anywhere in the world. Although we have many medical professionals taking the IHP certifications, no experience is necessary, and half our members have no previous health certifications. At the Integrative Health Practitioner Institute, our motto is a health coach in every home. Our goal is that you take this knowledge and then share it with family, friends, loved ones, your community, or in a practice where you create a career you love and can be proud of. The global IHP community is filled with some of the most kind and caring people in the world, and we can't wait to welcome you into our world soon. For more information or to set up a discovery call with one of our IHP Health Coach graduates, simply head over to integrativehealthpractitioner.org.